Ask me, are you dying as you live or living afraid to die? I couldn't lie, son. I heard God's son, like a calm hum. Died some, came alive some, up on high some. Lifted out that prison, you'll be sliding out that sepulcher. Crosshair on my body, don't care if they shoot the messenger. Ain't no weapon shall prosper, gospel flow out me like lava. No enemy that we can't counter, Mouser. I spit heat throughout the heavens to the valleys, from the highs into the lows. Everybody know I gun it with the ghost. And though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I keep that peace round my hip and keep the T round my neck. I'm talking heat like Elisha, fire flyer.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Hello everybody. I know that this is kind of last minute, but I think that they're done with the construction outside for the day. So I want to go ahead and get into this because it's a lot of like transhumanism, William Sims, Bainbridge, like we're all going to live in a World of Warcraft simulation type stuff that I really, really hate looking at, but we need to do it. So hello Wes H and someone and Jenny Lee and Ashni, good evening, and hello MDH 1970. So I'm going to go ahead and run the intro, and then we'll get through as much as we can get through.
How many years did it take you to do this?
In the end, exactly 20 years.
So your book, Chaos, what a fascinating journey this has been for you. A 20-year journey to create this thing.
20 years.
Dianetics, 1950. So a lot of the guys were interested in studying the way to process the mind, how to clear your mind from past confusion, how to resurrect the soul and be reborn within yourself. So that's where Scientology started. And then they started selling it, and then it got to be the process. And then the church of the last day, the last judgment, I sent some people to England. I couldn't go myself, but I sent some people there to do some certain things to make an effect, to cause an awakening of an awareness in that. No, Bruce was just one person that went in that direction. There were some other people riding motorcycles that was doing some other things.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Somebody said that Manson is my favorite Beach Boy. Very funny. Hello, Nathan Ward, and hi, Mamas and Papas, and Man Feigenbaum. I hope I'm saying that right. Feigenbaum. Hello, Truth Tollett, and Paul Kramer. Yeah, I like that song. I think it's, you know, I'm not like really a Beach Boy gal, but I do like that song. So, Let's go ahead and let's get into the hellscape that is William Sims Bainbridge. Now, look, I'm going to give you guys as much history as I have. I'm hoping that we can get through like all of his family history because I've been on a journey with his family. I think that William Sims Bainbridge is the perfect example of someone who was literally born to do this, born and bred. Just his familial lineage is fascinating. We are also going to look at, and I don't know, we won't start with it, but I am going to show you guys a thread that I was tagged in by a fellow researcher on Twitter, and we're going to go through it because there is some interesting connections to some, maybe current events, maybe not. Since everybody's getting all weird with, the political nonsense, it's amazing to me that people don't understand the history of U.S. aid, but I digress. Go ahead and do your protest stuff, whatever you guys think that they're doing. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's get into Ebenezer Scrooge, shall we? Hello, Malaya Grimm, and hello, Occult Examiner. All right, so this is Ebenezer Scrooge himself, Mr. William Sims Bainbridge. I'm always going to make fun of his hair and his unibrow, quite frankly. So these are just some of the books that he has authored. Many people know him in relation to The Process, from A Deviant Psychotherapy Cult, Satan's Power, and Revival, Resurrecting the Process Church of the Final Judgment. He has also authored a book, The End Time Family, The Children of God. I have been reading through it. Yeah, I'm going to let you guys know that with this one, he absolutely did endorse the Children of God long after the allegations came out. It's really disgusting. So I have even less sympathy towards this guy. He wrote The Future of Religion, The Warcraft Civilization, Social Science in a Virtual World, and E-Gods, Faith versus Fantasy in Computer Gaming. And these are some of the articles that you can find, or article, I should say. The Independent, April 3rd, 2010, Sociology Lessons, World of Warcraft Style. Again, I'm not really going to get into this here. Now, this one on the right, this is from Revival. This is what I had discussed previously. I've mentioned it a few times. Let me zoom in. Whoop, there we go. Okay, so in regards to what he, in my opinion, is insinuating, he's Robert Anson, right? Because the National Social Science Institute, he's receiving this package from the founder, Colin Stewart, with 4 identical metal cylinders that contains a sample of his DNA genetic code and a set of computer disks carrying data about my memories, skills, and personality. So he is insinuating that this is what is being done with the founders. I have no reason to not believe that that is what's going on, because something that I will tell you guys that I just found recently, and it's the only confirmation that I have, I showed you guys Claire Ives. I found her living trust. She has a trust in Utah because I combined all of the property records that I pulled out of Utah, because there's so many, but there is a Claire Ives living trust. There is not a trust for any of these other people. There is no death announcement, sans the 2 accidents that happened that were out of state. There is no obituaries besides the one for Claire Ives that we found, right? But that was pretty hard to track down. So what did they do with Marianne's body? That's my question. What did they do with the other founders' bodies that have passed there? Obviously, they announced Faith Maloney, Mother Hathor, Lilith Minerva, her 20 names. But as far as like official records, they're lacking, and I do think that this is what they're doing because they don't really try to hide it. Now, I'm going to show you guys a couple of books. We're going to bounce around a little bit, but one of the books is one that Echo Cat had pointed me to, and this was where we got that Oz article from that I showed you guys. And this is the one with Whitley Strieber. We're not going to read the entire thing, but let's go ahead and pull it up. This is, let me see, Prisoner of Infinity, UFOs, Social Engineering, and the Psychology of Fragmentation. Just so you guys know, this is how I'm going to get into the UFO stuff, is through this. Because, like, I'm on a journey with William Sims Bainbridge. I don't think it's cool. I think it's all fake and gay, but still, it's very interesting. So, this is the book, Chapter 10, Whitley's Baby, The Unholy Junction of 1968, right? So, over here, let's zoom in a bit if we can, right? Let's go over here. That way you can see what I was looking for, because I was looking for specifically William Sims Bainbridge. But, you know, he's discussing all this weirdness that's going on in 1968. And right here, Oz, the scandalous magazine and a major part of the 60s underground scene, the same scene Strieber's films were supposedly a part of. Apparently, the magazine was first published in Sydney, Australia in 1963 and in London from 67 to 73. So that's all good and well. That's fine. That wasn't really what I was focusing on. So this right here, and this is a different part of the book, but I do think that this is very interesting. So, while working on the second part of this book, it occurred to me that something similar may be occurring today, as far as what he's referencing in the first sentence: the Catholic Church, the whole of Christianity, the empire never really ended, right? William Sims Bainbridge is an American sociologist who specializes in religion and cognitive science and a senior fellow at the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technologies. Among his contributions to the field are his studies on how science fiction media, writing, movies, and TV shows act as a potential self-fulfilling prophecy. He believes that, like Strieber's visitors and Castaneda's old seers, ideas that embed themselves in human consciousness will eventually actuate themselves as reality. Another thing he believes, along with Willis Harman and Strieber's Master of the Key, is that developing the technology for space travel is essential for the survival of human culture. Many intelligent species probably end progress in a stew of mysticism, drugs, and decadent social institutions, which finally petrifies into a form of living extinction. Most of the rest destroy themselves more violently, a precious few, and we may be the first of this rare breed in our cosmic neighborhood, progress so rapidly, stimulated and guided by transcendent social movements, that they achieve interstellar communication and colonization before entering a static cultural phase. Only a transcendent, impractical, radical religion can take us to the stars. The alternative is one or another form of ugly death. To become fully interplanetary, let alone interstellar, our society would need another leap. And it needs that leap very soon before world culture ossifies into secure uniformity or decays into absolute chaos. We need a new spaceflight social movement capable of giving a sense of transcendent purpose to dominant sectors of the society. It also should be capable of holding the society in an expansionist phase for the longest possible time without permitting divergence from its great plan. In short, we need a galactic religion, a cosmic order. Oh, kind of like the Galactic Federation? So, let's zoom in here. That way I can read. All right, so here are some other things Bainbridge believes or claims to believe. Due to the decline in agricultural communities and the urbanization of society, there have been less opportunities for new communal sects to recreate medieval agrarian communities without necessarily reducing the opportunities for more radical communal cults. Utopian ambivalence towards nature is increasing, some groups embracing the earth, the agrarian sects, while others, those radical cults like Scientology or the Process, isn't it convenient that that's what they pick, which Bainbridge studied in 1970, and Strieber reputedly made a film about in the 60s, try to escape it. The sect-cult distinction is only a matter of degree, however, since both can evolve back towards conventional, I cannot read the rest of that word, conventional society. Sorry, I can't read the rest of it. Okay, it's cut off. So, sect, which became a household appliance corporation. Sorry, guys, I can't read that. And the Oneida cult that became a silverware corporation. In other words, religious or quasi-religious communities that became productive contributors to capitalist society, workers. Bainbridge acknowledges the instability of experimental utopian communities, but sees them as providing useful data for building a sustainable society in harmony with the environment. This is the one time that I'm going to agree, but I am also going to ask everybody to put on their thinking caps. Does that not sound like some MK Ultra bullshit? Yeah, like the cults are MK Ultra bullshit. For them to gather data, also very good for honeypot operations, right? Because I do think that that's what the family was doing. I think that they were getting blackmail on a lot of people in Hollywood, right? So, their transcendent ideals and social cohesion allow them to work cooperatively for shared goals. They emphasize efficiency rather than luxury, and the need for social harmony means they generally attempt to control birth rates. Eugenics, anybody? Humanity needs brotherhood and harmony with nature, so utopian religious communes can provide valuable myths for the 21st century and beyond. Recall the maxim from Changing Images of Man and the Aquarian Conspiracy. In the new paradigm, work is a vehicle for transformation. Arbeit macht frei, labor makes you free. This is also a Masonic axiom quoted in Willis Harman's contribution to Ion's psychic research, Challenge to Science. Man is given by nature a gift, the privilege of labor. As part of its future envisioning, Harman's essay advocates a quote-unquote new Freemasonry. The symbolism of the Great Seal of the United States on the back of the dollar bill is perhaps the most potent reminder that the structure, the unfinished pyramid, is not complete unless the transcendent all-seeing eye is the capstone position. It is clearly in a transcendental sense that all men are created equal. Use of the term New Freemasonry implies that the esoteric may be in process of becoming disclosed. The occult may be coming into public view. I think that's really interesting with all the quote-unquote disclosures. Whether or not this is happening is a question we cannot yet answer. However, there are indications that make it a plausible proposition. What we can do and propose to do is summarize the main characteristics of the perennial philosophy and of true Freemasonry and examine what it would mean if this view of man in the universe were to become dominant. So, that's all good and well. Let's go ahead. Oh, wait, no. Let me finish. Sorry. I wish I could see the last freaking word over here. Maybe if I do that. Okay, sorry. Hopefully you guys can see that. That way I can read. Harman states that with the increasing power of multinational corporations, it becomes essential that their operative goals shift to become more like those of public institutions. He insists that capitalist structures are ultimately most compatible with the growing strength of self-determination as a cultural value, i.e. capitalism, and with widespread disenchantments with monopolistic socialist bureaucracy. If capitalism is to survive this challenge to legitimacy, he writes, the operative goals of corporations will have to undergo radical change. This radical change, now I can go, which he also terms the new transcendentalism, includes the recognition of the key role of work in meaningful human existence. Work, Harman states, is the main way in which persons contribute to the society and receive affirmation in return, thus developing a wholesome self-image. Okay. While Harman was reinventing Freemasonry for the masses, William Bainbridge was studying the religious convictions of many UFO cults and noting how more and more like-minded UFO adherents and contactees were assembling to form scientistic cults. These cults have been central to the emergence of a Church of God galactic. A galactic civilization requires a new galactic religion, and scientistic cults, particularly UFO cults, are the purveyors of this new religious consciousness, which is, in Bainbridge's optimistic view, leading to the creation of a new theocratic order. The new galactic religion is politically and socially expedient because of its emphasis upon unfettered technological development. Before I continue, who's always out there? Well, he was when maybe he's not so relevant now, because I'm still looking for the Satanic Temple alleged bomber. His court records haven't been updated. I don't know where that guy is. if you're out there, I hope you're safe. What does Dougie Lucian always say? Like, oh, there's like a looming theocracy, right? But then we have all of this nonsense. Like, they're just like LARPing, right? They're libertarians that are LARPing. But Scientology believes this as well. So do the Mormons, right? Like, these are all UFO cults. I just think that it's very weird, and I think Bainbridge knows something that a lot of other people don't. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the guy's totally right. It's just things to consider. So, as already mentioned, Bainbridge also conducted a 5-year ethnographic study of the Process Church, a group which can be seen as a splinter off from Scientology. Hot take. The largest and most infamous scientistic cult with a penchant for technology, alien mythologies, the development of psychic powers, and a prime directive of space travel. Thank you for accurately describing the process. I appreciate that. In New Religions, Science, and Secularization, Bainbridge presents the following mandate. It is time to move beyond mere observation of scientific cults and use the knowledge we have gained of recruitment strategies, cultural innovation, and social needs to create better religions than the world currently possesses. At the very least, unobtrusive observation must be supplemented by active experimentation. Religions are human creations. Our society quite consciously tries to improve every other kind of social institution. Why not religion? Members of the process, founded mainly by students from an architecture school, referred to the creation of their cult as religious engineering, the conscious, systematic, skilled creation of a new religion. I propose that we become religious engineers. We have roles to play as consultants to existing new religions, helping them solve problems that our research has permitted us to understand. But we must be prepared to launch cults of our own invention, a task I admit is both hazardous to one's own welfare and outrageous in the eyes of people who refuse to admit that all religions are human creations. But it is far better for honest religious engineers to undertake the creation of new religions for the sake of human betterment than to leave the task to madmen and wealth-hungry frauds. That is just the most audacious thing that anybody's ever said. Sorry, I cannot believe that they put this in writing. It's a good thing Bainbridge has the distinction clear in his mind. Too bad he leaves out the possibility that many socially influential madmen were driven by the honest desire for human betterment. Bainbridge's vision is of a golden age that would be a turning point for human productivity and quality of life, in which humanity becomes like a single distributed and interconnected brain based in new core pathways of society. As well as being an enhancement to the productivity and independence of individuals, what's on offer is greater opportunities to achieve personal goals, including, naturally, the possibility of interstellar travel to offer new hope for spiritual immortality. Bainbridge apparently has the afterlife all mapped out along specifically merit-based lines. He terms it, rather disarmingly, the arrival of the fittest. So, let's get into this. We're not going to read through the whole thing. I know this is a lot. Calculation of the geometric realities facing colonization of the universe suggests that there might not be enough room in the galaxy for endless copies of absolutely everybody. The answer is a simple one. A person must earn a new life by contributing in some way, direct or indirect, to the development and maintenance of the entire system that explores and colonizes space. Well-educated people can ensure the demographic growth of their population through interstellar immortality. By arrival of the fittest, those with the most advanced minds and cultures will spread across the galaxy. Sounds a little bit racist. We have the technology already today to begin archiving human personalities at low fidelity within what I call Starbase. Oh, so they are already archiving. So he's answering my question about, positing the theory, not necessarily Marianne, but that they are doing this. Within what I call Starbase, a database destined eventually to be transported to the stars. To gain entry to Starbase, a person must contribute significantly in some way to the creation of interstellar civilization. One way is to help develop technologies for archiving and reanimating human personalities at ever high fidelity. Another is to work towards the establishment of small human colonies, first on the moon or Mars, where Starbase can be headquartered and where serious work on reanimation can begin. Okay, we love that, right? Let me see how much we've got left. All right, yeah, I don't want to read the rest of this. It's too much for me. But right here, this is just something that I think is very interesting, and that's why I highlighted it. One of the primary emphases of The Key is how the planet Earth is a death trap and a prison. The same thing Scientology teaches. In order to escape it, humanity must develop interstellar travel and spread it out across the universe. Find an efficient utilization of energy that will enable you to colonize your solar system and reduce population pressure on Earth. So, a bunch of space nerds, right? And I get that people have strong feelings about space. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. I'm never gonna be a space nerd. This is the only angle that I'm coming at this from, because this just seems, this is all really dark to me, this whole idea of AI and thinking that you're going to colonize space with your elitist AI. What kind of future is that? Here's the thing that bothers me is okay, imagine you're in the 60s, right? You join the process, and the way that it's presented to us now is it's like a counterculture type thing, right? So you're going against the man, so to speak. But what William Sims Bainbridge is discussing is literally taking on the personalities and downloading them of the elites, the elitists, the deep state, one might call them, in all sectors, and then recreating this new world with them. Who wants that? It's enough of a hellscape here. That's just dumb. I mean, I'm sorry. In my opinion, it's just dumb. But let me go ahead and see. We are going to get in. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not trying to offend any other sci-fi wankers, absolutely. The use of the term wanker in my chat has just gotten so fun. I'm glad that it's working its way into my vernacular. I'm going to let you know that I'm going to upset some people, I'm most certain, with some of this discussion, because just keeping it fact-based, as far as the transhumanism angle, this does tie up with discussions about transgenderism. There's your one warning. I don't care. I'm not here to coddle anybody. I'm also not here to hurt anybody's feelings, right? That's not my intention. I have three more things, because one of these things relates to Mr. Josh Zeman, which I now have a different sort of theory as to how maybe he got involved in some of this. But one of these things is really corny. One is an old occult magazine, and then this weird thing that I found, and then we will move on to maybe some family history here. But I gotta get a laugh in, right? Because these people are still big nerds. So, this is Communications of the ACM. I don't know what ACM stands for. What is it? Association for Computing Machinery. So, what does this matter? You want to know what made my day? That this frickin' nerd has a Hotmail email address. That's literally why I saved this, was because that made me laugh. That William Sims Bainbridge is out here using Hotmail. Okay. So, and then this one, this is from 1983. This is Harvest Magazine, one of those spoopy old occult magazines. But right here, there's a lot of discussion as far as the deviant psychotherapy cult, right? And people having a lot of issues with the parallels that William Sims Bainbridge draws in his public presentation of what was going on with the process, right? I'm not going to sit here and read all of this. It's unfortunate that there's only one newspaper article about that book with him in it, where he's honest about like Processians beating the shit out of each other and being really abusive. But all the rest of this is just, it's a psychotherapy cult, whatever. This one. So, this is a May 1987 science fiction analog, Science Fact. I have no idea who that guy is. I don't really care. But they are talking about William Sims Bainbridge at this thing called IguanaCon, which sounds really fun. I'm assuming it's about iguanas. But it says, in 1978 at IguanaCon, William Sims Bainbridge passed out questionnaires to the fans. Adding the results to surveys of fanzine editors and others, he collected a great deal of information about how the readers of science fiction see the writers. With factor analyses and correlation statistics, he was then able to identify what the writers write according to their readers. He read the science fiction himself, of course, but his aim was not to analyze the field solely according to his own insights. He sought the objectivity of statistics to construct an ethnography of science fiction, and it is remarkable how thoroughly this objectivity meshes with the more subjective opinions, which we are prone to call objective reality, of individual observers of science fiction such as myself. His book, Dimensions of Science Fiction, thus becomes something of a testimonial to the power of the opinion survey so beloved of social scientists, and may go some distance towards convincing the physical scientists and engineers, the analog readers, God, that's such a nerdy pun, that the social sciences are not entirely soft-headed mush. I suspect that if someone were to develop a method to classify the fiction itself in terms of concepts, weaponry, language, or using the techniques of the hard sciences towards the same end, they would find considerable agreement between their results and those of Bainbridge's sociological ethnographic approach, even though the latter is essentially unreproducible. Or has this already been done? If so, I haven't heard of it. Bainbridge finds three main sectors of science fiction. First, there is hard science fiction, which emphasizes gadgetry, quantitative thought, and rationality, and proselytizes for the human mastery of the universe. Second, there is the more emotive, pessimistic new wave. Third, there is the fantasy cluster, which, despairing of mastery, escapes into the realm of pure imagination, of art for art's sake. Horror and weird fiction bridges the gap between fantasy and the new wave, while sword and sorcery via action and adventure links fantasy to classic and hard science fiction. What is the function of science fiction? Bainbridge finds the record poor on its predictive ability, but sees it as fostering a flexible mental outlook, a resistance to dogma, and calls the science fiction community, across all sectors, an intellectual subculture of free thinkers. It is willing to consider alternatives, and it is not terribly religious. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. People are allowed to enjoy things, but the blanket endorsement of science fiction when it is rife with pederasts and pedophiles, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, this dude is, I don't know. Like, William Sims Bainbridge is becoming so much more nefarious to me. Like, tell me you don't know anything about Walter Breen, right? And tell me you don't know anything about, just whatever. I'm not going to sit here and rant. I'm not ignoring the chat, but I'm also not really paying attention to you guys because we've got a lot to get through. But I am going to wet my whistle for a second because I've been reading a lot. So, hello, everybody. And I don't know if the construction's going on outside, but if it is, I hope you can't hear it. Somebody said hi Todd, hi Meatball, hi Desert Rain, hi Carl, hi Tracy, hi Jay Mortis, hi Tani C, hi Zeralath, and someone in here, Devil Zaddy, I don't know who that is. Hello. And don't get me started on the Walter Breen stuff. If you want to know about Walter Breen, go listen to Program to Chill, because Jimmy Fallon Gong is the one who broke that story, straight up. Ties right into Jeffrey Epstein. It's really fascinating. But that's to say that they're not terribly religious. And again, I'm not putting a blanket on everything. It's just, historically speaking, objectively, historically speaking, there's just a lot of problems. Those conventions are problematic. It's the same thing with, damn it, Jimmy Fallon Gong talked about it on a different episode. It was one of his PTK episodes, but it like tied into Walter Breen. And it was about the unicorn, like, you know, the unicorn that someone had made that they took to the Renaissance Festival, because those are problematic too. Like, don't even get me started. Whatever. Do what you want. Don't hurt anybody. Do what you want. It's fine. I don't really care. We're going to read how many more slides? All right, we'll read 3 more slides. We're not even gonna, I'm gonna delete that one. We're not even gonna read it because it's a stupid article and it just has an ugly picture of him. Then we're gonna get into something that, again, is a Twitter thread, but also Echo Cat brought it to my attention, and I didn't know that there's like all these space nerds, processing Scientologists out here, you know, trying to upload your brain. I mean, this is, oh, Leonard Lake. Thank you, Todd Wood. I knew that you're so smart. Thank you. Yeah, it's Leonard Lake. Thank you. I can't remember the name of the freaking unicorn. I forgot that was Leonard Lake. Wasn't it in PTK that Leonard Lake possibly worked at one of the daycares that was involved in the daycare abuse scandals? That, do you guys like see people arguing with me in my shorts comments? And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. Like, get the fuck out of here. Excuse my language, but I'm just trying to get through this because I feel very behind. Alright, so I think I've shown this. You know what? We'll save his marriage stuff for afterwards. I want to get into the weird stuff because this is much more relevant. So I also found a really interesting book on Scientology with William Sims Bainbridge in it, which I'm going to pull up the specific reference that he gives, because if somebody can find the court records for me, I would love that. So let's go to, and hopefully this won't get me in trouble because I wasn't paying attention to the news. So let's go ahead and let's see. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the Terasem Foundation. Okay. This specifically, though, is citing the International Journal of Machine Consciousness. This is an article from 2012, World Scientific Connect, the Terasem Mind Uploading Experiment is a multi-decade test of the comparability of single-person actual human consciousness as assessed by expert psychological review of their digitized interactions with the same person, purported human consciousness as assessed by expert psychological interviews of personality software that draws upon a database comprised of the original actual person's digitized interactions. The experiment is based upon a hypothesis that the paper analyzes for its conformance with scientific testability in accordance with the criteria set forth by Karl Popper. Strengths and weaknesses of both the hypothesis and the experiment are assessed in terms of other tests of digital consciousness, scientific rigor, and good clinical practices. Yeah. Because this is good clinically for anybody, right? No, it's absolutely not. This is not good for anybody at all. And real quick, we will get into just a little bit. I'll show you guys because I found some fascinating papers on them of what these people are into, because these people want to live forever. right? That's the goal. People don't believe me. I don't know why. It's these people want to live forever, and they don't want you to live forever, right? They see you as using resources. So, some food for thought that I'll put out here. This might be a hot take, but the whole I'm not saying that climate change isn't real, but I am saying that you are the CO2 that they want to get rid of, right? You're what they want to get rid of. They don't want you to live forever. They want to live forever. Let's go ahead and see what they're into. So, the Terasem Movement Foundation Incorporated neural implants. They love the brain chips, right? And who does this make me think of? Dr. Lewis Jolyon West, who wanted to put brain chips into young black kids to see if he could predict violence, right? Okay, so again, not really going to get into this because, quite frankly, it's all a real hellscape. Right here, though, we will look really quick at another book that these people are all cited in. Again, and yes, absolutely, this is totally like Peter Thiel stuff. Yeah, even though Peter Thiel would, I don't think, ever outwardly, but this is also Elon Musk. This is Scientology. This is all the same thing. They want to live forever. It's a billion-year contract, right? That's you're kind of signing up for you're coming back, right? So, post-mortal society towards a sociology of immortality, studies in death, materiality, and the origin of time. I mean, this is all that these people do. This is all that they do. Now, am I saying that some of these cults, like the process, like the family, maybe 4Pi, 4P, the children, the Son of Sam cult, that some of those things are not completely unrelated? I think that they're related. It's the game of the gods, right? It's a great game of the gods. It's also the rape game, right? So I think that that was the purpose that some of those things served back then, especially as far as taking a life. Because, I mean, again, I'm not really into true crime and the whole Mindhunter garbage, but generally speaking, there is a huge power. I mean, there is a power imbalance, but psychologically speaking, it gives people a sense of being God, right? When you take a life. That's what a lot of people say that have murdered somebody. And especially in an intimate way, such as strangling or stabbing to death, stabbing 70 times, freaking whatever. I'm just saying. These things are not completely unrelated, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into this thread. I know that people don't like X because of, because of Elon, and that's fine. I get it. I'm not a fan of Elon either. Okay? At all. But is the tattoo on my forehead new? No, it's not new. I've had it for a while. I've had it since COVID. I got it when I was on the road. I don't know why that whole thing just completely threw me off. Anyways, I know that people don't like Elon, and that's fine. I'm not telling you to get X, but I am saying that you're going to get more accurate, noited news on X than you're likely going to get anywhere else. That's all I'm saying. So, let's go ahead and take a look at two excellent researchers here, because it's a quote thread from one of my buds. So right here, this is from January 28th from Parapower Mapping, Clonipin Gosh. If you guys don't listen to his show, you're definitely missing out. He's a very smart guy. The shooting of the Border Patrol agent in Vermont allegedly involved a no-cal vegan Sith murder cult made up of computer scientists and grads of the prestigious Lakeside School with ties to effective altruism and rationalism. Doesn't that smack of Luigi Mangione? Mangione, Meatball, the Luigi, the kid. I mean, he's young, right? That guy. So, I'm not going to sit here and pull all this up, but you can see it right there. Self-described vegan Sith ideology that started in the Bay Area and has connections to violence, right? So, very interesting. And I know that Desert Rain has sent me stuff on this as well. So I'm also plugging Desert Rain. Sorry, girl. I didn't mean to leave you out. But this person put together this thread. So, now that we know that the VT Border Patrol murder involved a West Coast-based murder cult comprised of transgender AI fanatics, we must ask what they were doing thousands of miles from home in rural northern Vermont. I propose the answer involves Martine Rothblatt and her Terasem cult. So let's go ahead and are you not going to frickin' work for me? Let's go. Okay, come on now. Where's the whole thing? Give me a second. No, don't do that, you dirty little Daniel. See, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Boom. Nope. Nope. Hold, please. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's go back. And open up the freaking thing. There we go. I gotta make this so difficult for myself. So, let's see what pictures they have here. Right? So, there's Martine Rothblatt, co-founder and treasurer. And I'm not going to sit here and read through every single thing, right? But 501c3, not-for-profit private operating foundation founded in 2004, based in Vermont, right? So, TMF. And I have this website pulled up as well. It's a whole thing, happily and forever. We are a trans religion that believes we can live joyfully forever if we build mind files for ourselves. We insist on respecting diversity without sacrificing unity, as well as pouring maximum resources into cyber consciousness software, geoethical nanotechnology, and space settlement. A trans religion is a movement which can be combined with any existing religion without having to leave a previous religion. Okay, great. That's lovely, right? And right here, there are 4 core beliefs. Life is purposeful. Death is optional. God is technological. Love is essential. Well, death is not optional, but I see where you're going. So, right here. Martine Rothblatt, born Martin, is a billionaire entrepreneur pioneering satellite technologies, including GPS systems and satellite radio. More recently, she has started companies involved with 3D printing human organs and using animal organs for transplants into humans. I mean, we talked about the whole animal thing a long time ago, guys, right? Long time ago. I'm not going to sit here and pull up all of those things. Rothblatt is one of the most prominent proponents of both transhumanism and transgenderism and has actually written a manifesto about how transgenderism is the onboarding process for transhumanism. Now, people are going to get really upset about that. I already know. I'm not saying that I have a problem with what people want to do with their bodies. I do not engage in emotional terrorism with people, okay? Nobody's going to pin me into a corner and, make me feel bad for talking about this stuff. That is Martine's words herself, okay? And I'm just saying, look at what happened with Tavistock, right? Tavistock has gotten in a lot of trouble. It's very fascinating that people that are hard proponents of this, and that's fine, people can get behind whatever they want to get behind. But it's very strange that proponents of this movement have nothing to say about the issues going on with Tavistock, and Tavistock admitting that they have ruined countless lives. with what they admit was medical malpractice, experimenting with surgeries and things of that sort. And that's why people that aren't going to sit there and critically evaluate both sides, like, I can't take you seriously. You're not ready to have a serious conversation. So, is it the onboarding for transhumanism? I don't know. If you're going to be, a eunuch, that's fine. And our channel, I don't know why you always insist Beatles are not Tavistock. Don't really care. I think the Beatles are Tavistock, and I'm allowed to have my opinion, and you're allowed to have yours. So, let's go ahead and continue. All right, so, right here. Rothblatt's nonprofit org, Terasem, functions both as a trans religion, their own terminology, and a provider of transhuman services, inclusive of creating mind files or analogs of personalities that can be uploaded into non-human forms. This is the Kabbalistic Golem. Terasem has ashram facilities located in Bristol, Vermont, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, guys. You got to tell me. Magog, Quebec. I always say the French stuff wrong. Magog. 80 miles and 40 miles, respectively, from Coventry, Vermont, where border agent David Milland was killed by Zizian cult members, Youngblood and Bachholt, both transgender and AI enthusiasts. Okay, I have no idea if I'm saying any of that right. Now that we have established Terasem as being a cult that promotes both transgenderism and AI transhumanism, with locations proximal to the Zizian murder site in Coventry, Vermont, I hope my hypothesis is clear as to why Youngblood and Bachholt would have traveled to that location. Let us now consider that one of the highest profile members of Terasem, William Sims Bainbridge, chairman of editorial committee of its Journal of Personal Cyberconsciousness, was, quote-unquote, formerly involved with the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Having established the Terasem Process connection, understand that the Process Church is an offshoot of Scientology that has connections to ritual murder cults, including the Manson family and Son of Sam. For anyone unfamiliar, check out the research of me. Thank you very much, Mr. Accountability. I appreciate you. However, now we have established the patterns connecting Zizians, Terasem, and Process. Let's add some additional context. Rothblatt and Terasem operate in, God forgive me, Magog, Quebec, which is oddly named for a biblical nation that is involved in apocalyptic battle. This cannot be a coincidence. Let us consider that the Zizian cult is self-described as following a vegan Sith ideology. As it turns out, the Terasem ashram specifically serves vegetarian food according to media reports, although I have not been able to establish whether Terasem is strictly vegan. One of the more disturbing aspects of the Rothblatt Terasem operation in Vermont is the Bina 48 robot modeled off of Rothblatt's wife. Bina, that, according to creator Hanson Robotics, participates in AI and consciousness experiments, which calls to mind the brazen head. This is all very terrifying to me, as far as this stuff goes. Brazen heads are legendary automatons allegedly employed by alchemists and wizards, an artificial intelligence in the vein of the aforementioned golem of the Kabbalist tradition. According to historical lore, the Knights Templar employed a brazen head in its occult rituals that evolved into what we know of as Baphomet, which is, of course, an androgynous, transgendered, goat-headed deity. This is of obvious relevance to the Terasem trans-religion cult. The similarity with the Templar Order is of further significance when we consider the relationship between the Templars and the Order of the Assassins, a Gnostic Muslim cult that used drugs and mind control to turn its adherents into programmed killers. It is well known that the Templars and Assassins cross-pollinated occultic and transgressive ritual practices and were heavily interlocked. I can't help but see parallels with the Templars and Assassins and Terasem Zizians. Zizian is even phonetically similar to assassin. Inasmuch as AI is of particular interest among the Zizians, it should be noted that Rothblatt had a personal, professional connection to the father of AI, Marvin Minsky, who featured prominently in the Singularity is Near film Rothblatt executive produced with Ray Kurzweil. It is no secret that Marvin Minsky was heavily connected with Jeffrey Epstein, as was Bill Gates, who happens to be an alumnus of the Lakeside School in Seattle, of which Youngblood and Snyder, Syzygian suspect in the California murders, are also alumni. Hopefully this information has been presented in a cogent manner. I genuinely hope that there will be some serious scrutiny of Terasem and its potential connections with the Syzygian murder cult, as this seems likely to have serious bearing on why the killers would be in Vermont. So, I get that was a lot of information, but I also wanted to shout them out, okay? I think that they did a really good job. I think that reading all of that, it was very interesting to me. And obviously they do their homework, and so does Johnny Clonopin Gosh. They both do a really great job. And again, I have no problem with consenting adults doing whatever they want. I don't care. This is a conversation about this weird transhumanist stuff, this weird AI stuff, and just the process kind of being in the middle of it, because William Sims Bainbridge just seems to be involved in everything. And as far as showing actual evidence that the Beatles ever even visited Tavistock, that's not what I said, RR channel. I've never stated that. I never said that they visited Tavistock. I said that they are Tavistock. Cultural engineering. I'm not going to clarify that again. So let me go ahead and let's keep rolling. So, William Sims Bainbridge's family. It's a lot, okay? First things first. The stuff with his parents, super weird, okay? Because his parents die. I'm going to show you guys because there's literally nothing out here really about his dad. They die in this weird fire, and for some reason, William Sims Bainbridge isn't there, which I think is kind of sus. And they give a reasoning as to what they think caused the fire. But it's the rest of his family, particularly his grandfather, that is absolutely fascinating to me. This is the elites of Westchester County. This is the children, in my opinion. So, right here, this is 3 socialites die in a blaze. Socialite insurance executive William Wheeler Bainbridge, his wife, and their daughter died of suffocation yesterday when a fire raged through their 6-room, 2-story frame house in an exclusive waterfront section of Old Greenwich, Connecticut. At the time of this article, the cause was unknown. We'll see the cause over there. But right here, it says, a son of the dead executive, William Sims Bainbridge, who is in Edinburgh, Scotland, with his paternal grandmother, Mrs. William Seaman Bainbridge, was notified. I think that it's weird that he was the only one that wasn't there. That's all I'm saying. Okay? I think it's weird that his entire family dies in a house fire. And that's it, right? Kind of weird. So, another repeated article, and then they say that it was a coil short circuit probable cause of the fatal blaze. Maybe, I don't really know. This article right here from the Hartford Courant, May 15th, 1965. One of the neighbors said that she was awakened by the fire and thought she heard a scream. I heard someone yell, "Barbara," and then someone answered yes, and that was all. So that's kind of weird, right? I think that that's a little bit strange. It's always bothered me that he was the only one that wasn't there. I digress. Maybe it's not really that relevant. Obviously, wanted to get his family tree as well as his headstone and his service record, right? Or his service card right here. So there's his family. Isn't it kind of weird, though? I guess it's not really weird. I'm used to it. For those of you that do this kind of research, I'm sure that you're used to it too. So obviously the deceased sister is listed, but for some reason William Sims Bainbridge isn't listed. It's like, bro, we know that this is your dad. So I don't know why these people do this, because it's like, I'm gonna find you. I always do, right? So this is from the New England Ball Project. This is a whole freaking genealogy hellscape about John Ball of Watertown, Massachusetts. Don't know much about the guy. I'm sure people smarter than me will chime in. But apparently, Dr. William Seaman's Bainbridge has a pedigree to the immigrant John Ball of Watertown, Massachusetts, and then William Wheeler Bainbridge, also pedigree to the immigrant John Ball of Watertown, Massachusetts. So that's all good and well. Don't really care. Now, in regards to his dad, because it wanted me to like accept cookies and download all of this crap to get this book. And to be quite honest, I don't really care enough, right? This book, though, Contemporary Religion and Popular Culture, an information technology surrogate for religion, the veneration of deceased family and online games by William Sims Bainbridge. So right here, I included this because according to William Sims Bainbridge, he's already reincarnated his family into some of these games. So his father is reincarnated into Elder Scrolls Online. So is his dead sister. Okay? It's real strange to me, which makes me think that the whole thing about Marianne de Grimston being reincarnated into like a digital Camelot, that's what happened. That's what I think happened, right? Because nothing else really makes sense. I had no idea that he was actively playing with his dead relatives, according to him, in video games. I had no clue. I think that is extremely, extremely suspicious. Just, I don't know. What are you doing? You're summoning the dead in a video game? Because technically, I mean, that's what it sounds like to me, right? That's what it sounds like to me. But now let's go ahead and get into his family, because you guys know that I love pictures, and I don't have too many, but we will start with his mother. How old was he when they died? Let me see. They died in 65. And he was born, he was 25. So it's like, why wasn't he there? It's like, it just bothers me. It's just weird. It could be nothing. I recognize that. It could absolutely be nothing. I just think that it's really strange that he just happens to not be there. And when you look at William Sims Bainbridge's father, compared to the other men in the family, his dad doesn't fit. At least anything that I can find, because there's not a lot out there about his dad. You know, he worked at this, Equitable life insurance, company, whatever, which also seemed to be a familial thing. But he doesn't fit with the religious, technological, medical, scientific, any of that. And I just don't think that it's a coincidence that he wasn't home. But, everybody thinks I'm a stupid conspiracy theorist. So let's go ahead and take a look at his mom. She had amazing hair. Wait till you see his granddad's chops. So, right here. This isn't his mom. This is his grandmother. I apologize. So, but right here, this is the New York Times, September 10th, 1911, the wedding of Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge of New York and Miss June Ellen Wheeler, daughter of the late Thomas Heber Wheeler and Mrs. Wheeler, took place at 4 p.m. yesterday at Glenheim, Yonkers. Literally Yonkers. Literally. These are the children of Westchester County. Unfortunately, down here, where's the date on this? Is this not going to let me zoom in more so I can see it? I can't see the date. All right, well, hopefully you guys can see it because Restream's cutting it off. But they did have a infant daughter that passed away, unfortunately. And so there's not really anything about her. And then Ernest over here is his brother, or her brother, I apologize. So, not going to sit here and read all of this. I'm just trying to show you guys what I could find about Dad, right? So, he's involved in some very interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and let's zoom in. This is the Hinton Daily News, November 29th, 1952. Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge returned to New York from Paris, where he had learned to do spinal anesthesia from Dr. Touffier, the originator. We're going to see that that doesn't really go well. Okay. Now, over here, I thought that this was a little bit juicy. So this is October 1st, 1946. Says wealthy medic deacon, 85, is prisoner. Dr. Edward W. Peet, 85, wealthy Manhattan surgeon and senior deacon of Broadway Tabernacle Church, is being forcibly and unlawfully restrained by relatives and nurses. It was charged yesterday in a habeas corpus action brought in White Plains. Mrs. Ethel Owen, 54, a real estate broker and a friend of the doctor, told Supreme Court referee Frederick P. Close that Dr. Peet is being held at his summer home in Pomona, Rockland County. Several times, she said, servants refused to let her see the doctor, both at Pomona and at his Manhattan home on 110 West 96th Street. Two other old friends of the doctor, she said, also had been denied access to him. She named them as Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge, surgeon of 34 Gramercy Park, and Charles E. Chalmers, the lawyer and president of trustees at Broadway Tabernacle, denied her charge that he was being dominated. I don't know what happened to this guy. I just think that this is really juicy. I don't know what they were trying to do to him. Because we're going to see that Dr. Bainbridge, the good doctor, not such a great doctor, right? Now, this is very fascinating. This is 1916, the Herald Statesman. The New York State branch of the World Court League has been organized with W.B. Guthrie, professor of international law, City College, as president, and Reverend Edward Russell Perry as secretary. Among the directors are Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge. So, if you don't know what the World Court League is, that was the pre-game, essentially, to the World International Court with the UN. Okay, so dude's a big deal. Now, this is the company that Lord Bainbridge's dad that passed away in the fire, the Equitable Life Assurance, right? So this is who he worked with, the society, whatever. And then there's Grandpa, okay, over here, because this is kind of weird, right? But this stuff in the 1915, 1920, this makes sense to me that William Sims Bainbridge is trying to, mesh religion with all of this other crap. Because here's his grandfather at the Baptist Temple, 1917, Brooklyn, New York. Along the lines at the front, covering his recent trip to Belgium, Germany, France, and other countries, and a survey of Red Cross sanitary and hospital conditions. And then again down here, 1921, at the Central Presbyterian Church, Commander William Seaman Bainbridge. Tumor formations in the vegetable, mineral, and animal kingdoms from the Medical Corps and United States Navy. Keep the Navy in mind, right? And, vegetable kind of weird, makes me think of Hubbard auditing a tomato. So, lots of stuff here. We're not going to get into everything. Main thing that I want to look at is, okay, he's getting some awards, right? So he's cited by two nations for work in World War. Obviously, if you're familiar with actual, what would you call it, geopolitical history as far as the wars, then this is a huge red flag, right? So that's fine. I'm not really focused on that, but he is working for the Navy. He is specifically doing research and working for the Navy, right? But over here, test of anesthetic followed by death. New York Tribune, 1912. Autopsy will be held to show if Stovane was the direct cause. Result of an experiment. Surgeons attending clinical congress not informed of ending of demonstration at the Polyclinic Hospital. So right here, Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge. Now, we're not going to read this entire thing, but Dr. Bainbridge was this individual. His last name is Hart, and he was about 50. He was treating him for a hernia, but Dr. Bainbridge starts to give a couple of other reasons for why this individual died, and it absolutely was not his fault, right? But it says right here, the autopsy will be of immense interest to the whole civilized world. Well, why would that be? Demonstrating Stovane before the group, the physician told of the advantages of the new anesthetic over cocaine and others, and, according to Coroner Feinberg, injected Stovane into the man's spinal cord. Spinal cord. They injected this into the dude's spinal cord. Now, what was in it? I think it's this article that shows it. Hold on. Where is it? Let me see. Stovane had been used as an anesthetic on the other side of the water for several years, but its introduction came into this country when Dr. Thomas Janescu, a Romanian surgeon, arrived late in 1909. Up to July of that year, he had reported 625 successful operations using the cocaine substitute as an anesthetic. His method was an injection into the spinal cord of Stovane and strychnine. Strychnine, that's rat poison. That's one of the components of rat poison. 4 parts to 1, and he maintained this produced an absolute lack of physical sensibility, but at the same time, the patient retained his consciousness and could watch the surgeon operate if he wished. Okay, that sounds safe, right? That sounds safe. Well, over here. Says anesthetic was fatal. Autopsy surgeon so declares, but one who gave it says not. I mean, wow, this is some real muckraking journalism, right? Dr. Edgar T.K., who performed an autopsy on the body of Patrick Hart, who died in the Polyclinic Hospital Friday after Stovane was administered for an anesthetic, reported to coroner Holzhauser last night that the patient died of Stovane poisoning. Dr. Ray said that the man was in such a physical condition that he considered it an error of surgical judgment to give the man any kind of anesthetic. Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge of 34 Gramercy Park, who administered the anesthetic, said last night that the man's death was not due to Stovane poisoning. He explained that the man was in an exceedingly poor physical condition and that he was suffering with a strangulated hernia. Literally nothing happened to this guy's license. Nothing happened. Remember what one of those articles said. The results of the autopsy would be relevant to the entire civilized world, right? They've got to figure out a way to perform these surgeries safely. Do I believe this other surgeon who claims to have like over 600 successful surgeries with that? No, not really. Not really. I could see somebody becoming paralyzed very easily just with that injection alone. But apparently back in like the 1910s, 1915s, you could just say, no, I don't care what the autopsy says. That's not what caused it, right? So I think that that is extremely suspicious. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. Now, let's go ahead and let's see just some other weird stuff with this family, because it's really never ending, and I'm hoping I get through this entire PowerPoint. I think that I can do it, but I'm not going to sit here and give everybody a freaking history of the Huguenots and stuff. Go Google it if you want, and I'm not into it. Don't care. So, right here, 1939, the Daily Freeman, Kingston, New York. So, the Pulse patentees, right? So, right here, among the honored guests expected to attend the dinner will be the eminent surgeon, Captain William Seaman Bainbridge, U.S. Naval Reserve, right? So I thought that this was kind of interesting. The new Pulse patentees, what are they? They were driven by religious persecution from their native France. Exiles for conscience sake came to America after a sojourn in the Rhine Palatinate near Mannheim. Here established their homes on the banks of the Wallkill, settled the country, purchased from the Indians, and granted by patent issued by Governor Edmund Andros on the 29th day of September 1677, and nobly bore their part in the creation of our free government. So, this is some old connections, right? And I think it's weird that there's a lot of Dubois there. And here again, because apparently, since everything's going digital, you can join the new Pulse patentee. There's only 48 members right now online. But right there gives another little history for you, a little brief history. So, right here, Mr. Bainbridge himself, he was the president. I don't know why. No, I'm sorry, it was his wife, Mrs. William Seaman Bainbridge. She was the president of the Cirrhosis Club. Cirrhosis. I don't want to say cirrhosis because it's not related to alcohol. The Cirrhosis Club, the New York City women-only club that started a national movement. This is all weird, guys. I'm not going to get into this because then this gets into some of my very unpopular opinions about feminism. However, let's go ahead and continue. You know, I love old pictures, right? And then, you know, for my real anointed heads out here, you know, Mr. Bainbridge, member of the Rotary Club, right? Big member of the Rotary Club, okay? President of the National Congress of Military Surgeons and a former president of the Manhattan Rotary Club, okay? So for all my Rotary folks that understand those histories, great. Let me know what you find. I'm not going to be coming back to that anytime soon, just putting it out there. So he dies, right? He dies in 1947, and this on the left is the most, I would say, in-depth obituary that I've ever seen of his. And Nathan Ward, shut up, I'm auditing a six-pack of beer, and the six-pack is losing. Okay, so this is September 23rd, 1947. Bainbridge's work won him decorations from many countries. Dr. William Seaman Bainbridge, 77, widely known New York surgeon, gynecologist, and specialist in the field of military medicine, died today in Danbury Hospital after a long illness. Dr. Bainbridge represented the U.S. government at a number of international congresses on military medicine, surgery, and sanitation, and in 1941, keep in mind the years of these things, guys, was sent on an official mission to all the republics of Central and South America for the State and Navy departments. Oh, in 1941 to Central and South America? That seems kind of weird. His work in this field won him decorations from many foreign governments. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Born in Providence, Rhode Island, Dr. Bainbridge received his medical education at Columbia University, graduating from the College of Physicians and Surgeons in 1893. After postgraduate work in this country and abroad, he served from 1900 to 1906 as professor of operative gynecology at the New York Postgraduate Medical School, and from 1906 to 1918 was professor of surgery at the New York Polyclinic Medical School and Hospital. During the First World War, Dr. Bainbridge served in the Medical Corps of the Navy Reserve, attaining the rank of captain. He was operating surgeon on the USS George Washington, a medical observer for the United States with the Allied armies in the field, and was later attached to the Surgeon General's office. He also served as consulting surgeon and chief of the Physiotherapeutic Division of the United States Naval Hospital in Brooklyn, and in succeeding years was appointed as consulting surgeon for the 3rd Naval District and attending specialist in surgery for the United States Public Health Service in New York City and vicinity. His New York home was at 34 Gramercy Park. For the past years, Dr. Bainbridge had spent most of the time at his Codfish Hill estate in nearby Bethel. He leaves behind his wife, the former June Ellen Wheeler, 2 sons, William W. of Bethel and John S. of New York City, and a daughter, Miss Angus McIntosh. So, right here. This one, the chief, and they spelled it wrong, but chief of the Physiotherapeutic Division of the United States Naval Hospital. Physiotherapy was undefined in the United States as a practice at that time. Anything you look up with physiotherapy, what one would call today in the hospital PT, OT, physical therapy, occupational therapy, a lot of occupational therapy, right? But back then, it was no holds barred. And in regards to the Navy, what that was microwave. microwave experiments, electromagnetic frequency experiments, and experimental surgeries. I found an entire book on this topic. And obviously, like, I'm not going to sit here and do 10 shows on the history of, physio, whatever. I'm not going to do that. However, I do think that it's very interesting to consider what they were doing and why it would appear that his dad was, or his grandfather, I'm sorry, was essentially like a surgical warlord. That's kind of how I look at him, right? Because wait till we get to the great-granddad. Then it's all going to make sense. But I'm going to show you guys just a little bit of this book because, yes, I was kind enough to go ahead and drop it into my Wayback. So it's already there waiting for you. But let's go ahead and just take a peek so you can get an idea if you do decide to dip in. War's Waste, Rehabilitation in World War I America by Beth Linker. Let's just look at the chapters. The Problem of the Pensioner, Reconstructing Disabled Soldiers, A New Female Force, Maximalist Medicine at Walter Reed. Hello, MK Ultra, anybody? The Limb Lab and the Engineering of Manly Bodies, Propaganda and Patient Protest, and Rehabilitating the Industrial Army. Okay, so if you want to read that, it's already up there. That's all good and well. I just think that that's super sus. And again, this is old money. Old New York money. I understand, sus Lord Bainbridge's parents lived in Connecticut, and that's where he died. That's fine. But this is old New York money, and quite frankly, old Westchester County money, right? Let's go ahead and look at a little bit more about his dad. We're getting there. We're getting there. So, Dr. William Seaman Willie. He went by Willie. I don't know why that Will Smith song, I don't even know how the beat goes, but it just, every time I see this, it pops up in my head. But this is his Find a Grave. We're not going to sit here and read all of this, but I did highlight, and this was discussed on Operation Garbage Can Dude, that Mr. Bainbridge was a member of the Society of Cincinnati, right? So that's very interesting. I know that there are some people that are highly focused on that area of research. I am not one of them, but I am glad that that's another tie that can be made to the process. And this book is hundreds of pages long if you really want a deep dive on the Bainbridge family. Because, yes, there is an entire book about the ancestry of William Seaman Bainbridge, as well as that Ball Society one. That one's even longer. I don't have patience for that. And right here, what he helped find, the International Committee of Military Medicine, an international and intergovernmental organization consisting of more than 100 states. It was established in 1921 in response to concerns over the lack of care provided during World War I. He helped co-found this, which is a big deal, right? Because this is also in place when the WHO is being developed. If you know the history of the WHO, then that is all very, very, very suspicious. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense as far as the scientific side of things with the Bainbridges, right? The ultimate sus lord. If he's not susser to you now, I don't really know what could make him so. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into the stuff with his great-grandfather. It's the chops. I got to show you guys the chops because they're completely ridiculous. But eventually, later on down the road, I will come back to discussing his great-grandfather because this was like the last puzzle piece for me. His great-grandfather was, I wouldn't say like a theologist. He was a reverend. He was a very famous missionary, as was his wife. And he ends up just quitting theology altogether to do archaeology, which is kind of weird But then it makes you wonder why the process went to Stuhl, right? Got a lot of archaeologists involved, right? Would make sense if you're trying to live forever, that you want to get as much research data available, because what else are you going to do with it, right? But if it's going back this far to the 1800s, then it's like, I don't know. I don't get why. Whatever. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to piss everybody off with the next article. That's why I'm a little bit nervous. But so, William Falwell Bainbridge, born in 1843 in Stockwell, Oneida. Okay, we got to do the chops, guys. Look at those freaking chops, dude. They're almost as big as his head. Like, holy crap. This dude is serious, okay? He means business. You are going to sit here and you are going to listen to him talk about the Lord and the shapes of skulls, okay? That's what's about to happen right here. That's what those chops mean, okay? It's really ridiculous. But right here, like I said, a little brief history of him, the son of Samuel McMath Bainbridge and Mary Price Falwell, a graduate from Rochester University in 1862, Rochester Theological Seminary. About 1867, he was appointed pastorate of the Central Baptist Church of Providence, Rhode Island, the largest parish in New England outside of Boston. Later, he took a church at Allston, Massachusetts, so he might be close to Harvard University. He gave up his position at Allston and all active church work to devote himself entirely to archaeology. He studied and wrote in London, Paris, Berlin, Egypt, and many other places, traveling the world with his wife, Lucy, herself an accomplished author and activist. And this little blurb down here, the Armenians in the Ottoman Empire, there is... this is just the opening of the book. It's just the index. I can't find the actual book itself. But there is a personalized testimony from William Falwell Bainbridge about witnessing there, doing testimony there. And I have to find this because I need to know. Because, the Ottoman Empire is a completely different conversation that I'm not interested in having. But I just thought that was very interesting. And yeah, his chops are biblical. That's what he's going to do. He's literally going to sit there and preach to you, and then he's going to talk about the shapes of skulls. Like that's what they're doing right there. Like, that is just completely, it was a different time, right? It was a different time. That's all I can say. Not for me. Not for me. Now, let me wet my whistle. I'm going to look at the chat, and then, we'll get into the last part, and I'm sure a bunch of people will either be rude or unsubscribe. And P. Thomas, I have a bunch of videos about CRISPR on my Instagram. I guess that I should download those and upload those into the shorts. I feel like those would definitely get me banned, though. Because I went on a whole journey. It was a different angle with the people who originally funded Margaret Sanger. Sanger, not Singer. Yeah. Don't get why people would be upset talking about eugenics, just part of history, right? But there's also people protesting USAID, and I'm just like, okay, you guys want more coups? All right, cool, let's do it. Let's do it. Your chops are big and gray, P. Thomas, so I'm curious. Now I want to know what they look like. I'm not going to ask you to send me a picture. That would be super weird. I should just probably shut up. Let me just collect my thoughts. And then, I've been more than fair, BT dubs. I've been more than fair. I've been reading primarily from these people's literature. I really haven't been super critical, right? And I don't even think that thread that I read was unfair. But this is a very interesting article that was included in a lot of the stuff that was sent to me. And, we got to read both sides. And hopefully people can take their emotions out of it. But I doubt it. What does that say? Wasn't thinking, but you could backdoor the video game CRISPR connections. You look old. Well, I mean, we're all old. Whatever. It is what it is. I will get the CRISPR videos, and I gotta compress them and then upload them, but I'll pull all of them off of Instagram because I have a long series. It's pretty long, I would say. Might be like 9 or 10 clips about CRISPR. So let's go ahead and get into the last article. And yeah, Margaret Sanger didn't give anybody any rights at all. At all. And again, people, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that what this author is saying is the gospel, right? I tell everybody, consider me propaganda. Go look for yourself. Determine your own beliefs, right? Billionaire perverts behind the trans agenda. So, this project is backed by big finance, big pharma, big tech, and all the corporations, international finance houses, international law firms. They're all driving the same narrative. And you have to ask yourself, why would this happen in the span of 10 years? Well, what does this have to do with the price of tea in China? There's this whole interview here, and I'm not going to sit here and read the entire thing. But, yeah, William Sims Bainbridge is a big part of this. In the 1940s, this guy, William Sims Bainbridge, was born. He graduated Harvard as a sociology professor. He's written many books. We're trying to reach a word count here about cults, religions, technology, gaming, the future of psychological mind control. And now he works at the head of the National Science Foundation's Cyberhuman program, which is the melding. It basically overlooks the ethics involved in human cyber melding. And, this trajectory in the late 1990s, early 2000s, there was a big shift in the culture from the digital age and the information age, and it sort of moved into artificial intelligence, transhumanism, robots, nanotechnology, biotechnology, etc. This is the future trajectory. But Silicon Valley has been pushing a transhumanist agenda since the late 2000s or early 1990s. And again, here, as mentioned in the thread that I showed you guys earlier, this discusses Martine Rothblatt, who is a self-stated transhumanist and also a transsexual, which is fine. Like I said, I do not care. It's the cult part that is very strange, right? But nobody can tell me that it's not weird that the wife is a robot and that there's a cult. Nobody can tell me that that's weird, that that's not weird. Get over your feelings about everything. That's freaking weird. That makes it weird. It would be not weird if there weren't those other elements, right? I have no problem with adults doing whatever they would like to do. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. Outside of that, no, I'm really not. And you know what? How about this? Let's be extra fair. Let me be extra fair here to the people that are going to say, like, I mean, people are going to say it regardless, but, well, let's see. Hold on. Give me a second. I feel like my brain's having a stroke. I want to show the Scientology book, so we'll come back to that at another time. Because no, this isn't the last time we're going to be discussing Bainbridge. Whatever. I know that this show is very delayed. Sorry if it disappointed. Sorry. It is what it is. But I want to find, because, the bits of Bainbridge's writing is very painful to get through. But I had never heard of this book before. and I am going to read it because it is very interesting to me. Um, he gives like this little graph, and I think it's him like low key trying to shit on L. Ron Hubbard, which I think is kind of amusing. But he does mention something about court records in here, which I've never seen these court records. So let's go ahead and take a peek at this book, and I will go back to the cover and get the name once we're done looking at what we're looking at, right? So, right here. This is the Iguanacon questionnaire. Oh, you guys remember that? So the Iguanacon questionnaire, the analytical laboratory. Oh, wait, no. Look at me. I'm dumb. I'm learning along with you guys. Low equals good. So, oh, look, I guess Hubbard's better than everybody? Okay. Well, popularities of Golden Age science fiction writers. Apparently, Heinlein and Asimov, it looks like Asimov is a little bit above, so maybe Asimov is worse. But, alright, well, I mean, I guess he freaking loves Hubbard. That makes sense, right? So, let me find this part where he is discussing... Don't tell me that this thing froze. It did freeze. Hold, please. It froze. Hold on. Let me open it back up. Let me find the freaking page where he says it. Because I want somebody to find these dang court records. Is the whole tab frozen? Yes. Hold on. Hopefully I'm still here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me find this. Bainbridge, where are you? Freaking creep. And he also, like, shares this story about, like, his great-grandfather and, you know, Snake Thompson, and how there's all these similarities and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm just like, whatever. Okay. Actually, you guys are going to see it right here, because it's right next to the part about the court records. Okay, so this is his introductory essay in this random book that I found about Scientology, which obviously I assume is not going to be very critical. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the sentence up here. I'm not reading all that crap, man. Screw you, William Sims Bainbridge. So, I have told this true story at some length, both because Thompson was so influential in Mr. Hubbard's intellectual development and because it illustrates a little appreciated fact. A very few adventuresome souls really do have the fantastic experiences described in science fiction or action-adventure stories. I count among them my great-grandfather, William Falwell Bainbridge, who carried out a social scientific world tour of Protestant missions. In 1879 to 1880, my grandfather, William Seaman Bainbridge, who studied surgical practices on both sides of the Western Front in World War I, his cousin, Louis Livingston Seaman, who studied military medical practices in the Russo-Japanese War, plus my cousin Christopher McIntosh, and myself, both whom have carried out extensive field observation of esoteric religious groups. Oh, Christopher McIntosh, where are you? Which cults did you join, sir? I'm so curious. Our Uncle John Seaman Bainbridge devoted 10 years to the intellectual and physical adventure of developing law schools throughout sub-Saharan Africa. What a guy! What a philanthropist, right? What a guy. In particular, I spent 6 months in 1970 doing covert participant observation inside Scientology for my senior honors thesis, even trying Kahn's method of using shoe scratches to record data, and 2 years intermittently from 1971 to 1975 inside a nominally satanic offshoot of it called The Process. William Sims Bainbridge, you dirty ass liar. I have pictures of you at the process in the late 70s. You're still there. Like, stop. We know you're running process alpha. Stop. And beta. Just stop lying to everybody. So, subsequently, I felt that it was my duty to provide court affidavits for the Church of Scientology. At no cost, of course. What a guy. Affirming that many members really did consider it to be their religion. Scientology was wise enough to notice that the fact I had done covert research without their permission or guidance added credibility to my affirmations, and our relationship has been on cordial but unbiasing terms ever since. That is the biggest crock of shit I have ever heard in my life. Why does William Sims Bainbridge doesn't get a pass? That's not how that works. Sorry. That dog don't hunt, bud. One way to look at membership in the Church of Scientology is as a great adventure. Very few people infiltrate it, as I had done, given that espionage runs in my family. Does it, sir? Are you saying that my suspicions about your familial lineage, particularly the men in your family, that maybe they weren't doing just what they said that they were doing? Fascinating. However, a large number undoubtedly gain from their spiritual processing sessions many of the benefits of adventure: anticipation, excitement, a sense of stretching one's capabilities, intense emotions, a series of unusual perspectives on life, and a treasure trove of vivid memories to look back upon. Adventure builds competence and a sense of efficacy. Mr. Hubbard's personal interest in the sea, in wild adventures in exotic lands, and in combining science with spiritual questing may in some significant measure have been inspired by Snake Thompson. Contrary to rumor, Thompson was entirely real, and he lived the kind of life that bland folk imagine only fictional characters experience. Scientology cannot be fully understood unless we realize that it is an adventure comparable to science fiction, but real. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't. And with that statement, I cannot deal with this dude. I cannot stand these people. But oh god. This is someone who's working for the government right now in a high-ranking position, and has been working for the government right now in a high-ranking position. He wasn't hired under any of these administrations that people are stressing out about. This dude has been in there. So I would ask everybody that thinks, and I'm not against the notion of Scientology being shut down. But if you don't understand that, if you don't understand things like this, what are you going to do? Because there ain't just one of him. There's multiples of him. There's minions of his. Right? It's just food for thought. This is why I think that the history of these things is very important. And I don't endorse anything that Scientology stands for. I think the Hubbard's trash. I think that a lot of the mostly old guard or older, ex-Scientologists, that I think that they're anti-Miscavige. I don't think that they're anti-Hubbard or anti-Scientology. I think that they're anti-Miscavige. And that's just my opinion. But, it's kind of obvious to some people when they step back and look at it, when I kind of lay out the argument for that. And if people are anti-Miscavige, like in my personal opinion, Miss Leah Ramini, then she's not really trying to shut down the church. She just wants David Miscavige to go away, right? And the idea that the government doesn't know exactly what Scientology is doing right now to adults and children is a joke. But that is just the first of God knows how many times that we will be talking about Mr. William Sims Bainbridge, the Sus Lord himself. I will bring up the whole Josh Zeman thing at another time, because I did track down some of Josh's history, and wouldn't you know it, his parents were really, really well known, like mystery, kind of maybe sci-fi, maybe a little bit witchy, a little bit weird authors. And so I do wonder if that was a different way to get the foot in the door with the process, right? Despite the public protest to the contrary. Because I know that I'm going to be told that they disbanded in 1974 and right? That's what I'm going to be told. Or, as Tom O'Neill would say, what did he say? The late 70s? Yeah. We'll wait and see what comes out with this Netflix documentary for Chaos, right? That's why I'm going to keep using my Chaos opening, because if one more person asks me what my criticisms are of Chaos, I'm going to yeet myself into oncoming traffic, because things are here. I don't delete things. Okay? It's up here for you to watch. Go nuts. But I'm not going to waste time re-explaining those criticisms. I would ask people to inquire why. Tom O'Neill's research team, ergo Tom, is in communication with the Office of Special Affairs 2 years ago, and further back, regarding information about Charles Manson and why these individuals were in contact with Josh Seaman regarding the late T. Moe's estate. Because I have those emails. People have forgotten that I've showed them. And so I will be showing them again soon, because I do think that they're relevant. Because I understand that one person has retired for the 1,000th time. I don't really care, and I'm certainly not going to take a lap of victory. I think it's all just show and BS. But, you know, this started out with Chaos. Technically, it started with John Atack talking about Chaos, but look where we are now, because now I just think they're both trash. And we'll be talking about John Atack again soon, because he had some really ridiculous takes about Crowley, and you just gotta wonder what these people's motivations are. I have strong feelings that, like I said, it's not anti-Scientology. These older folks, this old guard. And maybe some of the younger ones. I don't think that's the case for most of them. But if you're anti-Miscavige, then what does it matter, right? Because again, I would like to see David Miscavige. I'm pretty sure that they're pulling a Weekend at Bernie's. Until I've seen a proof of life, a pulse, then I think that they're pulling a Weekend at Bernie's. Same thing that they did with Hubbard, same thing that they did with Heber. Because no one can look me in the face and be a serious person and tell me that Heber Jensch is still alive. Right? So why are they still signing legal paperwork in the state of California in his name? I'm tired of people telling me that Heber's, it was just, some sort of, office title. Right? Okay. Whatever you say. And no, Berkowitz didn't shoot John Lennon. And I think that USAID funding was involved with Chaos, like Operation Chaos. I'll save that for my other channel, ranting and raving, because the whole, people freaking out about USAID is driving me nuts. I understand that some people and I'll end here, I understand that some people think that parapolitical history, which isn't really parapolitical, it's actually just looking at history from every side possible. I've read left-leaning books, middle-leaning books, right-leaning books. I've read extremist on every side books. And it helps you to get a better full-orbed picture and make your own determination. I don't think that you should just listen to one side, because there's always a prerogative. There's always some sort of motivation or weird goal. But, you don't understand what you're protesting, because USAID has been involved in some of what some would call, for those that are anti-war, some of the greatest tragedies in the world. Funding coups, propping up puppet governments, causing what some would call mass genocides, Holocaust even. I would reconsider protesting or having such a visceral emotional reaction without understanding the history behind the institution in which you are protesting. Because you're not helping the little people. You're not helping the oppressed. You are actually protesting for the boot to be pressed down further upon the oppressed. And you are actually rooting for the institutions which you claim to despise. And that's why I think history is really important. But I will catch you guys soon. Stay safe.